Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations about money. Join your host, Lauren Williams, four-time Olympian turned financial planner, as her guests share their stories about how they manage money. We aim to help you own your personal money story and feel good talking about it. Lauren will teach you that money is a tool that can help you live the life you want. You should feel comfortable listening, sharing, and communicating about it. And now, here's your host, Lauren Williams.
Hey, welcome to the Worth Listening podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and today I'm excited to have financial advisor Tashari Berry here to share her money memoir with us. Tashari was the founder and CEO of Tashari Financial Group before recently joining Wealthcare Financial Group, where she is the VP and Director of the Sports and Entertainment Division. Tashari calls herself a teacher first and a financial advisor second because she educates her clients through the process. In her words, she was a money hoarder as a child. She learned to save early and worked hard to have the money she needed to reach her goals. A game she played at school in the 5th grade gave her an interest in investments, and that interest combined with her passion has led her to where she is today. Let's listen as Tashari shares her money memoir. Tashari, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you.
I think this is going to be a really awesome episode. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Where are you from? Describe yourself to us so we can get to know you just a little bit.
Okay, I am Tashari Berry. I'm a financial advisor with Wealthcare Financial Group, Inc. And actually I'm from Lexington, Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. Okay.
Yep, that's
so
me.
Let's start with the beginning. Let's go back to your childhood and talk about your first memory of money.
Okay, yes. So I also am a twin and I have 2 older siblings, and I did grow up in a 2-parent home. And my first memory of money is that my mother would always refer to me as her rich child because I would go around the entire house and find all the loose change. And I just had an obsession of saving money. And so I remember being like 8 years old, and I would literally have saved up $500 because any birthday money, any holiday money, any money I just saw laying around, I would go into the laundry room like, oh, there was $5 in this pair of pants. Can I have it? You know? And so my first memory of me being a money hoarder actually is what I've now realized is that I was actually started out hoarding money at a very early age.
If you look back on that, do you think that there was something behind that? Like what kind of influences were you having in the household? What was your parents' financial situation like? Or were your siblings acting in a certain way that made you feel like you needed to be the saver?
No, actually, like our family was pretty well off. There was never a time when I wanted something, I just couldn't get it. Honestly, I just think it was my natural God-given ability for me to just want to put something back on a regular basis and just see it grow. It was just a natural instinct for me.
Some people are just born with the ability to save. That's awesome. I think it's a learned behavior for a lot of us. So it's pretty cool to hear that.
Right. I know. I'm usually surprised. Like, wow, I can't believe that the things that I'm doing now, and I kind of started out in my youth before I even knew about this career that we're both in now.
Did your parents talk about money in the household a lot? Was there something like where they required you to save? Did your brothers and sisters have a piggy bank, or was there an allowance?
Never did we have the money conversations. I would ask for a piggy bank because it's something I wanted. So I always remember the Pocahontas piggy bank that I had, and Grandmother Willow would sing me a song every time I would put change in her, you know. But that was like something I had asked for. And then I went to a private school, and in my private school in the 5th grade, I learned how to play the stock market. And so we would pull out the newspaper every day, and we would circle the companies that we so-called bought and look at the plus and minuses. And I was like, I want to do this. I love this. It was so weird when I think about it now, but I'm like, I enjoyed it so much that I spent the rest of my life searching for how I can actually get started. I remember going to my parents like, hey, I'm doing this game at school. Where can I actually do it? I have the money. Look, I have the money, but where do I get started? And the response was always, we don't know. So that's why I do what I do today, because I want to make sure there's never someone who wants to know, who has that burning desire to know. But because of family circumstances and because their family doesn't have the same type of background, they don't have the answers. So for me, ever since the fifth grade, I wanted to invest my money and did not learn how to do it until I became a financial advisor. So that's my story.
That's so interesting. Especially, like you said, you went to ask your parents and they said, well, we don't really know. So you think they were just doing kind of like the traditional, whatever that was available to them at work for saving, and they didn't know how to invest above and beyond that. And that's why they couldn't direct you in a certain direction?
Actually, that's a really good question. I think they didn't know because their parents didn't know either. Their parents went through the Great Depression. So it was almost like you just put back money into the bank account, whatever you can. But you don't have a whole lot anyways. But then what you do have, like I said, you just put it back in the bank. That's what their parents knew. So that's all my parents knew. And so I had a bank account, but that was about it. My dad's an entrepreneur, so he owned his own business, and my mom was a homemaker. So they didn't have anyone to teach them about retirement. All they knew is, okay, we have money coming in and we spend the money. Even as far as like saving, I don't even think those different lessons were taught to them. So all they knew was you make money, you spend it.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting the way that things like that are passed, generation to generation. What one generation experiences somehow affects the next generation. And you talked about your grandparents being a part of the Great Depression and how important it was for saving for that generation. And so to capture the idea that saving is important, but what does it actually mean to save above and beyond putting in a bank account is not something that was kind of laid out. And so there's so many different levels to, like, I'm doing the right thing, but it's like, how can I take this right thing to the next level?
Right. My grandparents, they also seem to always have enough. Like I remember my grandfather, that's why I would get the $100. Like every birthday, my grandfather would give me $100 plus how old I was. My grandfather, I looked at him as a rich man. He had the nicest Cadillacs and he would always give me the most money for my birthday. So for me, it didn't seem like it was a struggle because same thing for him. He just knew to make sure he made enough money so that it covered whatever he needed to spend. And he may have put back a little bit, but not enough to really create a long-lasting legacy for the generations that are coming after him.
Yeah. Let's move forward a little bit toward your teenage years. What was that like? You said you had some siblings, you had a twin. So like at age 16, do you get a car? Do you get a car you have to share? Do you have to get a job so that you can have a car? Is that not even on your mind? What were the teenage years like as it pertains to money?
It actually continued on through my teenage years. My very first job, I was a roller skater at Sonic. So I don't know if people are familiar with Sonic American Drive-In, but I actually would like carry the food on a tray on my skates and like twirl around. And so I was getting tips, my very first job. So I would save all the tips. I did this because I wanted to go to school out of state. So I lived in Kentucky, but I wanted to go to Howard University in Washington, D.C. And like I said, I have a twin brother and I have an older sister. So I was like, I don't want to put a financial burden on my parents. I decided that I was going to pay my own way through school, however which way I could do it. So I started 2 years in advance, putting money back to make sure that I wouldn't be able to go to Howard because of my financial situation. So that's exactly what I did. And I say in my tips so frequently that the people at the bank remember me in my SpongeBob cup after years, even after I graduated high school, because like, oh yeah, your daughter is a girl that would come up here with her SpongeBob cup. People like, no, oh, I don't want these pennies. You want them? I'm like, yep, take them. I took everybody's change who was waited. I would take any type of tip that people would give me because I had a goal. So that's why I'm very, very passionate. And I think it's so important that when you saving money, you need to save for a big goal because it's going to cause you to change your mindset. It's going to help you actually save to meet your goals that you're saving for.
So what was it like when you got to Howard? Did you end up getting enough to be able to pay for it in full? Did you work while you were in college? Did you have to take some student loans?
I did a little bit of everything. So not only was I saving money that I would get, but I also applied to over 100 different scholarships because I was like, I want free money I didn't have to pay back.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Pause just 1 second. You applied for over 100 scholarships?
I did. Yeah.
Talk about perseverance and persistence and being ready to grind it out.
Oh, yes.
I think a few people sign up for 3 or 4, they get rejected and they give up.
Oh, no. And I talk about this a lot when I talk to a lot of students because the website actually still is up, fastweb.com. I went to that website compared to other websites. I was up in my guidance counselor's office every single week. Once again, they got to know me really well. Coming to find out, they started applying for scholarships on my behalf because they knew, okay, Tashari's going to be up here with these scholarships. If we see something for her that we can recommend her for or nominate her for, we'll do it. So towards the end, I start getting checks from everywhere, like, oh, Tashari, you got this for me, or hey, just give me your name and number and give me your name and information, and we'll give you this scholarship because everyone knew in the city how hard I was working towards paying my own way through school.
Unbelievable. So you get to college and you're a grown up now. I mean, it seems like you said you've kind of been managing your finances on your own for a while and very focused.
Yeah, right?
This is kind of like that adult time where, it's like no one's really responsible for you anymore. And, your parents are someone you can always go back and ask. When was the first time you felt like you had control over your finances and that you needed to make like X decision, Y decision, and govern yourself accordingly?
Really my sophomore year in high school. Like when I start to really decide, okay, I'm going to go to Howard, I'm going to pay my own way. And when I got my first job, that's when I was like, okay, I'm taking my financial matters into my own hand. I'm going to be extremely responsible, extremely focused, and achieve things that I know is possible.
Yeah. From a financial standpoint, were you thinking like, this is my budget? How are you organizing yourself on a monthly basis? Was it kind of just like, I get some and I put 10% away, I put 20% away, or did you have a structure around what you were doing?
Yes, I did. So I was extremely organized. I was extremely involved in like extracurricular activities. And in high school, actually was one of the speakers at my graduation. So I literally would have like an itinerary. I would have a to-do list. I would have like, okay, on Monday, at this time, I'm going to do this. At this time, I'm going to do that. I would have, okay, I know that for school, it's going to cost $40,000 for this and another $5,000 for this. So I would write down when I would get money coming in, I would write it down. Okay, I'm this amount away from my goal. And it was a lot of prayer because sometimes a lot of times those numbers did not add up. But one thing about me, I never doubted. I was like, it doesn't matter if I'm $20,000 short. I know because of the God I serve, eventually it will all add up. Something that miraculously will happen. And I'm still this way. I'm the same way to this day. I never got concerned how far away I was from my goal, but I did record it just so I can know, okay, well, I have this many more scholarships I could potentially apply for to see if I can get it. And I was very organized as far as like writing things out. And even in college, I was the exact same way. When I got to college, after 2 weeks of being there, I got a job. DC, they're very big in politics. So I started to go door to door and help different politicians campaign. They'll pay you cash, and it was just based on someone I knew. So I would get paid cash to just go and knock on doors and promote a campaign. And they're okay, if you get a sign in the yard, we'll give you an extra 10. Well, I can make up to $100. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. I only have a full-time job for like 30 days. And I was like, okay, I can't do this because I'm in school. I want to take advantage of being in school. But I will work odd end things throughout my entire time of being at Howard as well.
What about your friends during this time period? Like you said, you're very focused, you're very organized, you're writing things down,
Mm-hmm.
you've got an organized budget. The average college student, I think, will get a rap for being pretty irresponsible and with not knowing, like you said, we're adults, but depending on what household you come from or who taught you what, we're not very well versed financially. But this is, like you said, a time in everyone's life where you're kind of on your own and you have to start taking on that adult responsibility. So what kind of things did you see with the people you were hanging out with or your college classmates for how they were organizing their finances or what they knew versus what you knew?
I think for majority of us, we're pretty responsible because if you meet someone from Howard, we all have like a story of how we got there. And a lot of us are just trying to make it type of thing. Now, you have some people who do have like an abundance of money. Their family would send them money or send them things. And actually, I saw a large spectrum. People who were just also doing the same thing, like working full-time jobs, as well as having a full-time schedule. You had some that had one friend that never really graduated because they couldn't afford it. So I would see everything. But for me, I'm like, I know my situation and I know what my goal is. So I never allowed anyone else to deter me from that. It was just living that college life of you're on a strict budget. I was really thin. really thin, doing a lot of walking, and I'm very resourceful. They have the churches that you could go to and they'll give you food, or you'll they have events that have free food, or I always found ways to make things happen so that I could have fun, enjoy myself, but at the same time be responsible.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I saw a lot of my friends do the same. A lot of them will have jobs, and even any opportunity that I would find, I would put them on. Like, hey, y'all, like y'all want to come do this, walk these streets with me, banging on doors for a politician. So I will bring them along with me, and they will do the same as well.
That's awesome. Sharing is caring. I think that's an important principle. If you can take early on, that it will lead you to success in life in general. Because I think so frequently when it comes to money, people start to feel competitive. And it's like, I can't put her on this thing because that's when we take food out of my mouth or money off of my pocket. But it's a really important thing to conquer initially, to say that there's more than enough out here for everybody. And I got this opportunity. I'd love for you to have this opportunity as well. So were you guys talking about money in addition to, like you said, you were helping putting them on, but were you guys having money discussions, or was everybody just kind of doing their own thing and not something that was really talked about?
Yeah, once I moved off campus, so my junior year at Howard, I moved off campus with a group of us. It was like a group of 5 of us all moved out into a house. And so that is when we really start talking about the finances, because we had to put our money together to pay the bills. So that is when we really started seeing more into people's financial situations and where they were getting their money, and people coming, showing up late to pay bills and things like that. So even some fallouts because some bills weren't getting paid and things like that. Actually, that was one of my mistakes. I know the last couple of months, alleviate the burden on one of the roommates. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll put the bills in my name because I know I'm going to be responsible. But even after I left the house, I was still having to pay on some of those utility bills because they never paid it, late fees and things like that. But because it's in my name, I went on and paid it all. That was one of the financial mistakes I made trying to help somebody out. And the very person I was trying to help out also did the same thing by not paying. I was like, oh gosh.
That's one of those tough situations to be in too, is where you want to help others, you want to be responsible. It always gets a little bit sticky when you said you're in a group situation where people have to split bills. You're counting on them to be responsible on doing their part. But you sometimes end up pulling up the slack because that's your credit that's on the line, it's your reputation. You want the lights on for you. Yeah, it's definitely a good point in life to start those money conversations is around college when stuff like that starts to share, but then to continue it on life after college. So tell us what happened next. You went to college and then it was time to be a grown up. What did you major in?
Yeah, majored in finance. Yep, majored in finance. So when I graduated from Howard, I did have some student loans I had to take the last year of college. But by the time I graduated, I had $2,500 saved up, and I didn't owe the school anything. However, I was getting married that year. So once again, I'm like, okay, I have to save up because I'm getting married. I don't want the financial responsibility to fall on my parents because this is a decision we're making. So my now husband and I, we once again paid for our entire wedding. So I graduated in May, started the wedding planning, and we got married in October. I paid my dress off 3 months in advance than what they expected me to. Paid for our honeymoon in advance. We just took care of everything we could. Any type of shortcuts I could make, I would do that. My dress, a little over $1,000. But my veil, I created it myself. I made my veil by my own hands because I was like, I'm not going to pay an extra $200 for a veil. I could do that. And I did it. Or like, oh, I'm not going to hire an event coordinator. I can do it. And I can, ask one of my cousins to just help me the day of. So any way I could cut costs, I did it. And I had a dream wedding. We went to Sandals, to Jamaica, had a butler at a very young age. We're 22. And they're looking at us like, who?
That's balling.
Who do you guys think you are? So it was an interesting experience. And then 6 months after that, we sold any little things that we did have, little flat screen TVs, and he sold his car and we moved to China.
You moved to China?
Yeah.
Okay, finance major, graduated, I'm married, and I want to go to China. How did you end up in China? Is there a financial job there?
No. So when I was still at Howard, as you can probably tell, I kind of planned things in advance. So I was at Howard, and while I was at Howard, I decided, you know what, I don't want to go straight into corporate America. I want to have reverse retirement, so to speak. Like I want to go ahead and retire before I even start working. So when my husband and I, we were talking about getting married and planning for the wedding, we were also planning to live abroad. And I had studied abroad in China while I was at Howard, which was another financial situation because I didn't have the money, but by the time I studied abroad in China, I had raised the money once again, which was probably about over $3,000 I had raised to actually study abroad in China. But going back, because I had that experience and he, of course, was aware of it, he also had fun that trip. He was like, well, let's go to China. You've been there. We can teach English over there just for being native English speakers. I was like, perfect. I had a good friend of mine who's now my best friend who studied abroad with me. She was like, I know someone who's teaching English in China. She was moving back to China as well. She put me in contact with someone who was working as a English teacher there. We got an interview, got accepted, and we were like, okay, we got accepted. Let's go.
And so what kind of financial situation did that put you in studying abroad in China? Is that a lucrative thing to do? Is that something where it's similar to what an entry-level job is for everyone else that graduates college, but you come with the benefits of being able to travel? It sounds like a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, I highly recommend it to people, especially if you're not sure what you want to do. Like, unless you want to be a doctor and you're going to go to residency and go to medical school, then maybe it's not the best decision. But for someone who is just graduating college and I'm not really ready for adult life, I'm not really ready to take on a career, what should I do? Go teach English abroad. I highly recommend it. I really believe that everybody should do it at least once in their lives, regardless of your life phase that you're going through right now. Now, is it lucrative? That's relative, right? So if you have a mortgage you still have to pay for, you have all these expenses, and it may not be as lucrative because of the exchange rate. One US dollar is about, at least I think it's like 6.7 of their money. So a dollar can go a long way, but if you're paying on American bills, then it's not going to be as lucrative. However, for us, I was just graduating college. I didn't have any bills except for student loans, but those could be deferred because you're leaving the country. Some people, you can still decide to pay on them, but we were like, nope, we're going to defer those loans, which is what we did. And we didn't have any bills. So it was very lucrative for us. Even though we didn't work that many days of the week, we only worked 2 days a week the first year and 2.5 days on the second year. However, because we didn't have the U.S. bills and the amount of money that we were getting paid, it was definitely substantial enough for us to have a great way of living as well as save up a little bit of money before we came back.
I think it sounds like a wonderful opportunity. And I think one of the things that is so important to so many people nowadays is this idea of work-life balance. So to be able to work 2 days a week and then travel the other 5 days or do whatever you want the other 5 days in another country, I'm sure you got the opportunity to see multiple places that are nearby where you were. Yeah, because you could just kind of ping pong over to other Asian countries, I would assume, relatively easy. And like you said, you had enough money to be able to save. So you covered your expenses, you're putting money away, you're working 2 days a week, and you're seeing the world.
Yes, that's exactly what we did. Literally every week we were traveling to another city in China. I've been to over 31 different cities in China because we worked so infrequently.
So what brought you back then? You're back in America, you're providing financial advice. How did you get back to the States and what came about?
The year we came back is when I found out my mom, she was diagnosed with cancer for the fourth time. And so I was like, okay, I'm leaving. So we finished up our contract and immediately we just came back to the States without a plan. Well, I don't say without a plan, without any certainty of what would really come next. But I just knew I wanted to be home with my mom and with my family during that time. So once we decided we were coming back, I started looking into jobs as a financial planner. I started looking at different companies and applying while I was over in China. And before I even came back, because of a connection with my sister, meeting a recruit on an airline, I had an interview set up before I even came back to the States. When I came back to the States, I applied as a financial advisor, and about 6 days later, 2 months later, I had the job.
Wow. And that's pretty much what you wanted to do all along anyway, was you had goals and dreams of being a financial planner beforehand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're working in the financial industry. What was the thing that made you want to be a financial advisor in the first place? Why was that something that you were passionate about?
Like I was saying, when I played the stock market in the fifth grade, I loved it so much. I knew this is what I wanted to do. So one, it just came from me being introduced to it at a young age and knowing that I enjoyed it. So that never left me. Even through college, I picked finance because of the experience I had in fifth grade. That's where the interest came to be in finance. But the passion came from me wanting to invest as early as the fifth grade, but not getting the opportunity until I became a financial advisor myself. So I remember being at Howard, having a finance major, looking, how can I start this investment account? Like I can finally do it every step of my life. Middle school, high school, college, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And it kept hitting every single door, just being shut in my face, like, no. And so I was at college. I was like, you have that $2,000 to start. I'm like, how? I can't do that. I'm like, paying my way through school. I don't have $2,000 just sitting around for me to only put it into an investment account. That's where the passion came from. I want to make sure that there's never someone out there that wants to learn but can't learn because of a lack of resources or a lack of people in their network. Now, times are different, right? So now you can do it really from on your phone. You can look it up and you can do it. But when I was in school, we didn't have that information so readily available to us. You had to know somebody who knew somebody. So I'm really glad that those times are different, but I still have a passion to just educate people. I always tell people I'm an educator first, a financial advisor second, because of my experience of teaching English in China, but also because I really want to educate people because I feel like that's how you'll be empowered to really be able to make better financial decisions in your life.
I think it's really important that nugget you said was I'm an educator first and a financial advisor second, because it's so much to know and understand about this process of organizing your finances, where people come through the door and they're counting on you. And I think we can relate us to in a doctor's situation. Someone's coming, they have some sort of trouble that they need a solution to. And our job is to diagnose what it is the best way to go about treating this problem, finding the best solution to it so that you can end up being healthy. Talk a little bit about how you serve your clients, what kind of clients you serve. What exactly does a financial advisor do?
Generally speaking, what financial advisors do, we take the money of our clients and we invest it in the market so they can earn a return, right? So they can actually make money while they sleep. As for me, you touched on this in the very beginning of our interview of the money mindset, right? So I really dig into what is their money mindset? How do they get that money mindset based on their first experience with money? And then how do we decode it to recode it, right? I really believe that it really starts with our mindsets. After I take them through that process, it's about, okay, what are your goals? Like, what do you want? Which goes back to what I also mentioned. I don't want you just to put money back because I told you to. I want you to put money back because we are putting money back so that we can help you reach your goals. And so I know you work a lot with this as far as the financial planning aspect of what are your financial goals? And a lot of times they really don't know what they are. They may know what the short-term goals are, but not the long-term goals. So I want you to think about the 75, the 85-year-old you, and what does that person want? Think that far in advance and figure out what do you think that person wants based on your interests now. And let's make a goal so that that 80-year-old you is going to be set financially because of the actions we take today. And so it's really just like a wheel on a sparrow. This wheel is going to always be rotating. It's never going to stop. These different things we're touching on, we're going to always keep touching on them because you're going to go through different situations in life. Right now you may be single, but soon you may have, married with kids. So we're going to be having different type of discussions. So as long as this wheel is spinning, then you're going to be able to reach those financial goals, have financial independence, and live the life you've always dreamed of. But if at any point in time that wheel stops, that is when we got to be concerned because then I'm not going to be able to help you reach those financial goals. So after I figure out what your goals are, and then I'll let you know how to get there. Like I said, it's a roadmap and it's a wheel that keeps spinning so that we can get to our destination. And so it's about how do you get there? You get there through setting up your finances and automation. Automate yourself to wealth. You do that by making sure you're in investments that are based on your risk tolerance, based on your experience, based on hedging against the market and things like that. So make sure I find specific investments that are in the best interests of my clients and putting them in there so they can literally make money while they sleep. as well as just protecting the family through like life insurance or other type of financial vehicle, like an annuity or things like that to kind of help shelter their taxes and things like that. Everything, of course, that is legal. And then it's just about having those personal relationships. Like with my clients, I like to have personal relationships with them because I want to know what type of day you're having today. With one of my clients, we kind of talk about their marital status. Like, okay, they'll call me about their marital status and I'll just maybe pray with them on the phone. We may not even talk finances. So for me and my clients, I'm just an extension of the family that has this financial knowledge that I can empower you and for your generations to come so that we can all help each other out. Because if I'm helping you for generations to come, I know this can also help me and from generations of my kids to come. And then I'm very big on entrepreneurship, as I know you are too. You know, we're both entrepreneurs. So it's also about, okay, that's great. Have it set on the money that you currently have and what our plans are, but let's make more money. So it's like, okay, using their natural talents and gifts to figure out different opportunities that we can start or set up so that they can make more money with things that they're interested in, which is entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you brought up the whole entrepreneur idea because it's one of those things that like, people don't realize that even though we're financial planners, we also are business owners and that we also have to organize our own personal finances. And with entrepreneurship comes this fluctuating income and being able to weather that idea of fluctuating income because it's just not this nice, easy, every 2 weeks paycheck.
Right.
The financial planner, the financial advisor is also a business owner and is also a human. And
right.
The connection is that thing that's important. If you had to say to people, why pay someone? Everyone makes money. Everyone has the freedom to do whatever they want with their money. Why would you pay a financial planner, a financial advisor to help you with your finances? I think a lot of people don't hire us because they're just like, why do I need help with this? I'll just do it myself.
It's almost the same thing of why you shouldn't go on WebMD and diagnose yourself. One is because you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. Right? So you may think you know what's going on. You may think you have a good handle on your situation, but maybe you won't know until 30 years down the line and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed an opportunity where I could have made $1.5 million. But because I didn't know what I know now, I missed an opportunity. I think that's one. But then two, also you got to think like time is money. So yes, with today's day and age of do it yourself, we think that we can do everything. But if you are spread so thin amongst doing so many different things, how can you really focus on what your purpose is on this earth and maximize that so that you're giving back to the world? And if you find yourself being spread in so many different directions, you're not going to be a good resource to anyone. So it's about like learning how to delegate, learning how to let go of things so that you can maximize your abilities and your talents to make the most amount of money you can make. Because if you're focused on something that's not really your knack, or if it's not something you really should be working in, then you're missing opportunities for you to make more money in the things that you are interested in. I think the same thing with like cleaning your house. Yes, I can spend 4 hours cleaning my house, or I can hire a housekeeper who enjoys doing this, who has the time. This is their business. I'm investing in them by paying for this service. And also I'm freeing up my time to be able to focus more on the things that I'm interested in so I can make more money for myself and my family, you know, for others that I give to. So I think that it's the whole, we have to let go of the mindset of I have to do it all myself, because you really are hindering your own blessings by having your focus on too many different things. And I think that everybody has a purpose and what they should be working on. And if more people were to focus on that, I truly believe the world would be a better place.
Yes. I just came from an event and there's a young lady, Patrice Washington, who's in a financial space. And her saying is chase purpose, not money.
Mm-hmm.
That really just sums up exactly what you're saying, is this idea of so focused on the dollar and trying to save a dollar at your penny pension that you won't invest in yourself truly. When you understand what your purpose is and you're lined up with investing in yourself to reach your purpose, then you use money as a tool to reach your goals, as opposed to trying to hang on to every dollar and not thinking it's worthwhile to use others' expertise as a form of investment so that you can do the things that are really important to you in life.
Right, absolutely.
What kind of things are you working on or doing to further educate clients or to share information with the public so that people can know more about the financial topics. I know that you worked with professional athletes in the past and other areas. Tell us a little bit about the things that you're working on.
Actually, I just now switched over to new investment firm. So that's the newest thing for me. And in that, I am the VP and director of the sports and entertainment division. So I'm even going to focus on professional athletes even more because their needs are a little different than just the general population. So I have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but it's fairly new. We're just now completing this transition this week, actually. But you can definitely find me on those platforms at Sports WFG. So W is in Wealthcare, F is in Financial, and G is in Group. So Sports WFG on those different platforms. And one thing that I've been working on like yesterday and today is I'm writing an article right now. And I don't know if you've heard, but they're talking about Dwayne Wade and if he should go to China to continue to play basketball or should he just retire? And those are two topics I'm very passionate about. Of course, sports, financial, and living in China. So 3 of my passions. So I'm writing an article right now on the 5 reasons as to why I believe he should move to China. And you can definitely catch the article on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as our website, which is wcfingroup.com.
I think that's really interesting because there's so much of the peanut gallery that goes around. And like you said, this has turned into really big news about what is he going to do? Should he do it? Shouldn't he do it? It's not going to be good for American basketball.
Right.
I want everyone to read the article, but can you give us which side of the fence are you on? Should he go to China or not?
Definitely. That's why it's 5 reasons why he should. It's not even a debate if he should or not. My advice is go. And I really outline the 5 reasons. I can touch on them really quickly. 1 is the higher pay. 2 is the endorsement deals he can get. 3 is a cheaper cost of living. 4 is entrepreneurial opportunities he can have over there. And lastly, his family being exposed to a foreign land, I think will also be beneficial to him and his family. Those are the 4 reasons as to why I believe, and I elaborate that in my article because I'm very passionate about that. And he should go. I still believe, like Dwayne Wade, if you're listening, go to China and read my article as to why you should.
Right. You never know. D-Wade might be listening.
Right. You never know.
All right, let's wrap up with what I like to call the final sprint. I'm going to ask you some questions and you kind of give me some rapid fire answers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What is your best money habit?
The fact that I have set up my finances automatically. So I no longer even have a budget. I just now have a certain amount or a certain percent of the money that's deposited into my bank account automatically delegated and distributed to different accounts to meet my financial goals.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. We call it the bucket system.
Got you.
What is your worst money habit? Because people think that financial advisors don't have bad habits, but everybody's got a bad habit.
My bad habit is eating out. I like to eat out, and I probably eat out too much. And when I do eat out, I spend too much money.
I think we can all relate to that one. Worst advice you've ever received?
So personal revealing, the fact that my husband and I were both virgins when we got married. But his grandmother, when I was getting ready to go to college, she was like, oh, why don't you guys just go ahead and have sex and something. I'm like, no, no, I'm not going to have sex until we get married. But I just thought that was interesting that she was like, well, it's okay. I'm like, no, thank you. Like, I'm good on that. You know?
Right.
But
she's like, just do it. Do it.
I get so like, maybe you should. I'm just like, nah. I'm all right. Yeah.
The most unlikely of people.
I know. I thought that was so interesting. She's a sweet, wonderful lady. She goes to church every Saturday, but still, that's what I was like, what? Like, are you saying this to me right now?
Like, Jesus told me to tell y'all to try it.
No, Lord.
No, that was the devil, Grandma. That was the devil. Okay, best advice you've ever received.
Best advice I ever received was from my accounting professor at Howard University my sophomore year, which is to make sure you work for yourself. You should always work for yourself because if not, you're only working to make somebody else rich. Very few workers that you see are wealthy, but you meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are multimillionaires. So basically to make sure you have the mindset to work for yourself.
Yes, I like it. Last but not least, can you share with us one thing that you would like to improve about your finances in the upcoming year?
I would like to, one, earn more. And then two, I would like to be able to put away more so that I can have more to give, if that makes sense. My giving bucket to be bigger so that I can give more.
What's the action item that's going to help you reach those two goals?
Honestly, it's to earn more. So it's for me to make sure that I am networking with the right people, make sure that I am giving myself enough exposure out there on the things that I'm doing so that I can make sure I'm reaching the people who I'm supposed to reach, who are supposed to be the clients of mine, so that I can earn more, so that I can do more, actually.
I love it. I love it. Tashari, it's been so wonderful having you on the podcast. I know our listeners got a lot of good nuggets to take away today. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. I love everything that you're doing, and you're beasting it out here. And I'm so excited for what the future holds for you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Tashari's Money Memoir. Tashari talked about how most people have short-term financial goals, but many fail to make long-term financial goals. She shared about how the decisions you make today are going to impact the way you live when you are 75 or 80. And I know as millennials, we're often not thinking about 75 or 80, but we need to. She also shared about the importance of working with a financial planner. As she said, going to WebMD to diagnose yourself is not the same thing as seeing an actual doctor. You may do all right in the short term, but you don't know what you don't know, and that might have you playing catch up later. Our word of the day today? Fire. So not like a hot fire, but as in the FIRE movement. So FIRE stands for Financial Independence and Early Retirement. Tashari referenced wanting to retire when she graduated from college before even going to work. Now, obviously, you can't retire from a job you never had, but there is a movement of people that are dedicated to being financially free sooner rather than later. The thought behind it is, why would I work my whole life to have money to retire, and then I'm too old to do anything with it? These people have prioritized getting their finances in order now so that they can enjoy their life. If you want to learn more, simply Google FIRE movement. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you found this episode worth listening to. If you have questions, suggestions for guests, or would like to share your own money memoir, please contact us through our website, worth-listening.com.